Exactly like this transition. Yeah, I've got mine in my pocket.
You can blame Dan if you want.
Yeah.
Where was the chairs? Pull one up.
Is this in your way?
I'll get your back.
How come you got yours on your laptop? How do you let that out? I can't get my stuff on me to go onto my laptop.
No, it's just a Word document. So I didn't fix the interface.
You saw my email. Well, I've checked all the drawings at home, but read the laptop. This is okie dokie. I can't really see it, can you?
It's got to be sent.
No, John borrowed the iPad, so it goes through the old code.
I'm starting to see all the email thing.
What's your name? I'll log in, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, we have to apply for a notice as well. So that's so we're going through the process. Trying to get them done to bouncing to testing. So we want to do that, but we're also walking along the robots and then
Loads of trees come down. Loads of damage. Do you see that one up at the Bulwark play area? Dead, isn't it?
But later, yeah, about things like that.
That was the road at the end, that was over. Yeah, the support going around through. He's happy to use by the cricket club, it's been about 2 years, isn't it? That's the road also. So he has to get through it's like the recreation ground, you know, when the railway went in, the whole thing of 87, there was a and the poplars. But I think it's a shame since 87 they never planted so many poplars in there. I know it's going to take about 100 years. Let's just go with it. Do you ever go down to the little white brick body for the cottages? There's some more trees there, they're not breaking it. But I think they don't want to remove it, so they face that putting in. We're not really just cutting the insects and stuff like that, don't they? They're not coming down, they're all breaking up houses are often.
Harry, I'm sorry, could I just ask you a question?
Yes.
Did anybody tell you if any members of staff were coming tonight? It's just on past, isn't it?
No, so just to, I presume we should probably start. So the fill-in committee, I'm minuting on behalf of Jane, who unfortunately can't be here. The mayor is able to attend as well, so we can select a chairman from amongst us. Anybody interested?
Last time, but I didn't know because I was just going to get on with things if that's okay with you.
I think go for it.
Yeah.
Right, so here's some Good evening everybody, welcome to this evening's planning meeting, Wednesday the 9th of March 2022. We're going to start off with apologies for attendance, please. Were you given any at all, Councillor Sampson?
Yes, I was informed the mayor, as he stated at the last meeting, wasn't able to attend. I've been told Jeff Snell has been unable to attend, and other than that, I think Nicky Warden may be unable to attend the only apologies I've heard about.
Thank you very much for that. Item number 2 is declaration of disposable pecuniary interests and any other significant interests.
Yes, that's me again. That's item 5, number 10. That's the Innovation House Discovery Park one. I work for a company down there, so I'm going to be leaving the room during that discussion. Somebody else needs to just quickly record what the resolution was.
I can do that if in your absence. Thank you very much for highlighting that to me. So, and the next item is item number 3. Sorry, beg your pardon, Tom.
Yeah.
Did you have an interest to?
I'm not sure if it's appropriate to raise this now, but I believe a motion was carried at the last council meeting saying that committee meetings should be set out facing the public rather than with our backs to the public. And given that this meeting is being live streamed, it would be helpful if members faced the front rather than with their backs to the public.
I'm not quite sure how we can undertake that.
No, not now, but just as a
in future. Yeah,
as a point.
I'll make a note of that.
So I think the camera should have to go there.
Yeah.
Camera.
We'll probably have to be careful.
Over there then.
Brilliant, thank you very much. I've made a note of that and I'll take that back to the mayor. Item number 3, public right to speak. Councillor Sampson, did they notify you if there was any?
We have nobody.
Nobody. Oh, that's fine. Thank you very much for that. That's excellent. Item number 4 was tree works. Mr. Roger Ragg from Dover District Council Parks and Open Spaces is to brief us on the relation of tree works within the town. So, Mr. Ragg, I'd be very pleased if you would. Have you got a presentation to give to us or a speech?
No, it's just a sort of ask questions, give you the opportunity to ask questions. It was just more of a verbal, a chance to discuss. If I may, Chair, it was more around the fact that I had a very brief outline of what you were asking, and tonight was to understand what you're asking, give information as best I can, and come back to you or provide, Amanda Jane or others the information that you might need after that. So.
Thank you very much. So the first one I'd like to start you off with, and this was from our tree warden, and this is probably one that you're aware of, is that we're not actually notified about tree works within the conservation area. I think that's probably one that many of the councillors in the chamber would be asking about. We were notified by the tree warden that this is done in other councils in Kent. So I just wondered if you could give an answer to the committee on that matter, please.
Yes, I'm happy to do that, Chair. So this is in relation to trees in the conservation area. So that is a section 211 notice that would be provided to the district council for us to review. The section doesn't require us to publish or notify. It's only that it can be discretionary. We've suffered badly in the past where this has been, everything is subjected, even dead trees, dangerous trees and so on. So it's about it being a proactive and complementary working together to understand what's going on, rather than it being just a no, you can't do anything. Again, the information that's provided to us is the initial information that gives us the opportunity to review what's been requested and whether or not we deem that further action needs to take place or further information is required prior to any works, and which also will take us into a position where the tree officer may deem it that a tree preservation order is required, and at that point you are then notified because that comes through the normal processes there. So if I may, it sounds like you're requesting the information at the beginning of that process when it's limited information to us, but also it's an admin burden to us as well. So we would have to, because if we did it for you, we did it for all. So, and I appreciate this is only the sandwich plan, but again we have to be sort of Switzerland in all of this and provide the information to all. So we do follow the flow chart. So if you go onto the gov.uk website, you will see that the notice of works to trees in the conservation area. We follow that path there, and it does talk about publicity and local consultation, but it isn't. The consultation will happen from TPOs. It is also fair to say that we've got brand new mapping, information that will sit on our mapping, so decisions that are made under section 2 on our notices will reside on mapping, which is publicly accessible, so everyone will be able to see that. Again, our tree officer, who is a tree officer, has to deal with all of the tree stock, ours and everyone else's, so again, my comments around admin burden is quite significant. I know that the notices you get from Kent County Council for works on trees on the highway, they've got an entire team, very efficient system, and in my previous life working for Kent, we used it some 20 years ago, so it's a system that's been embedded for a long time. Ours is new, and it's on its way. So I hope that helps, and again, it's very much around this conservation trees in the conservation area.
Thank you very much for that answer. So I open the floor up there. Councillor, would you like to answer?
Yeah, you've described the procedures that you go through when you receive some kind of application or notification. But if Dover District Council is the only council in Kent that doesn't, as of routine, notify the local town or parish councils, at what point in that procedure do all the other councils in Kent then notify their local town and parish councils?
Okay, so I don't know if every council does that, so that information I don't have to hand. I don't think they do it in Folkestone because my tree officer came from Folkestone, so again I don't think it is something that happens there. I could go away and understand what others are doing and why, but again we would be providing you limited information at that stage because it's limited information to us. So again it's whether or not people are going to be reviewing that information without more in-depth knowledge of what needs to happen.
Looking at it from your point of view, what point would, if Dover District Council says Sandwich Town Council's vote made a very good point,
Sure.
at what point would Dover District Council then say, okay, this is the stage that we will automatically notify Sandwich Town Council of tree works in their conservation area?
Yeah, so there is a list that resides in the legislation which gives us opportunities to look at things that may be of more importance, that we would come to you about it or feed back the information to the person that's requesting the work, because it's them requesting the work and us having that dialogue between each of ourselves. So I can take that away and chat with the planning team and with our tree officer to find out about when we would proceed with that. Because normally it's about acknowledgement and receipt of the notice, we would have it, and then widely published and local consultation. But what would we be consulting on? Someone's requested to remove a tree at XYZ property, so I'm not sure there would be enough for you to be able to have, okay, that's what's going to happen.
That sounds like enough, actually.
Okay, that's thank you.
Councillor Fox.
Thank you.
Councillor Miles.
Thank you. I think one of the cases in point that really upset people a lot, and one that perhaps you think about for the future, was a yew tree that was cut down on the rope walk near to the Bowls Club. There was terrific anger about that and no consultation whatsoever.
Sure.
And I think it's things like that that we need to be ahead of the game of, so that we can consult and take views. Now I understand why the Bowls Club wanted it knocked down, but a lot of other people didn't.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so no, point taken and noted, and again we can feed that back. Rock and a hard place is probably the best way of describing that. The shading of the bowling green was affecting that, and we did reduce it, and as you've seen, it has regenerated as per some of the others along there. We knew that, others didn't. So, but again, that could have been part of the conversation as well.
Exactly, and my point was really, that's happened, we can't go back, but
Sure.
that was something where consultation would have been helpful.
Yep. Thank you.
Councillor Miles.
Colin Miles. I'm on the council. Similar question about Fellowship Walk. I don't know if you're aware of the the hoo-ha about that. There was lots of public dismay when a number of trees on that site were cleared by the developer, without consent. And so, two questions really. One is, I saw some of the paperwork on that and it just seemed to be scrappy bits of paper.
Mm.
Is there a proper application process and a paper trail that should be followed? That's the first question. And second is, what's your relationship with the planning enforcement team? At what point do they take over if there's an issue of non-compliance or non-applications?
So I think that the first bit is it's not a scrap of paper, it is a form that has to be filled in and information has to be provided to us. But again, I can check why that is believed to be that there's scraps of paper moving around.
That's what we got from an FOI request. That's all we
Right,
got, was
okay.
a scrap of paper
Right, okay.
and a phone call, record of a phone call.
Okay, so I would have to look into that and then come back to you on that one, especially if it's been requested through an FOI as well. The planning enforcement team, it's almost a call that comes to DDC rather than just us. So what happened was we all got calls about what was going on, and the planning enforcement team were here as well. So it wasn't just the tree officer call, it was everyone was being called, as you can appreciate, and action where possible was taken, you know, if it was possible. But I would have to speak to my colleagues from planning enforcement what action they took.
But the response from planning was, he didn't seek permission, but if he had, we would have given permission. I mean, is that normal practice?
I think it's more to do with the fact that if he's skipped around the process, that's not helpful. So again, it's back into that's possibly not a helpful answer. Something again, as Councillor Fox said, that was something we can take away and look at to improve going forward.
Councillor Franklin, please.
I think what really concerns us is there seems to be any enforcement about illegal cutting the trees. I mean, classic is New Street. Is it 57 New Street, the line? Was it 3 or 4 really mature? They should never have been planted there because they're actually over the waterway, so there's only about 3 foot soil above the waterway. But they just cut down, they wasn't prosecuted. Then there's another one in New Street, is it St Nicholas there, by the pub there, massive garden, loads of trees cut out there, no action. Someone said, oh, they were rotten, there's no action. And then of course then we've had these, that's what you call the scrubland, but then Rotary actually planted 2 lovely trees out, and one was a Jubilee tree for the Queen's Jubilee.
Yeah.
I know Dover District Council, I was talking to the chap, what do you call it, the lumberjack, people cut it down because they said it was infected and it was dangerous because the tree was out of balance. But it seems to me that the District Council are not taking any enforcement about people cutting the trees down. That's the thing. And I know some of the people do actually apply for permission to, you know, pollard trees and cut them out. There's so much going on, and they say, oh, do we cut the tree down? Oh, you know, we didn't want to. And then the District Council doesn't do any enforcement.
I don't have the documentation for each of the properties you referred to, so I would have to go away and look at what was provided. You know, enforcement is you know, if we know we've been to site whenever we've been informed, and we will, you know, prevent work from continuing or taking place. That's okay as long as it happens when we're around, because we're not always around. Planning enforcement will do that work for us as well. The condition of the trees, I don't know. That's why I would need to see what's been submitted, and if nothing's been
They
submitted,
look perfectly healthy over there.
yeah, so then we would need to understand what's happened there. And again, we don't have a huge group of enforcement officers that can just wander around the district continually looking for someone who might be doing something they shouldn't be doing. So we can look at that, and again, I think the comment was made just now is about we have to have evidence to prosecute, which again is as much as they need to as well as we do as well. So it is difficult, but again, I can look into what information we hold about that.
And how do we report dangerous trees? Do we just report that to Dover District? Because there's so many dangerous trees, you know, on the willow bank, there's a dead willow. And up, there's so many walk around the town, you see so much danger branching in off. And I know you don't do it yourself, you get these special people in, don't you, do the tree thing.
We do some of it ourselves.
Yeah.
So dangerous trees obviously can be done straight away. They do not need any permission at all to be worked on by anyone, and we can act quickly. So the tree that I had removed in the car park here was splitting in half and was a danger to the people using the car park and the footway.
Mm.
They actually were growing on land that some adopted, as you know, but we took the decision, you know, under the Miscellaneous Provisions Act to actually act to protect people's safety. The other one, sadly, the Mountain Ash that was next door to it, it got basal decay and blew over. And that, you know, was terribly unfortunate. The other thing is that we are about to go through the next tranche of our 5-year tree inspection, so trees will be found during that process. But if you want to report anything, then you just contact DDC and we'll send someone out, you know, and we'll come and have a look and see what is the problem.
Okay, yeah, no, do that. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Councillor Sampson?
I'm getting the impression we've probably drawn to the end of your time, but I just want to say thank you for coming. It means a lot.
You're welcome. And again, if I may, this is why it's more helpful than playing email tennis, because we get far better responses, and I understand what the problem is and you know, the concerns that members may have, and I can feed that back.
Councillor Fox?
Just something about evidence. Google Maps is amazing.
Yeah.
So can you not look at Google Maps and see what was there? Because you can backtrack as well.
Yeah.
So you can see if they're mature trees that have been cut down or not.
Yeah.
For example, on Fellowship Walk,
There's
you could have
piles of
seen what
rocks
was
as
there.
well.
Yeah.
That's just an idea.
Yeah, sure.
It's not done already.
I'm not going to answer the question about what is, you know, can be presented as evidence. I would have to speak to the enforcement team. The majority of times, evidence is when people are caught in the act of doing something, and that's the strongest evidence, and how it's recorded and captured. When it's circumstantial, this tree's fallen down, someone's standing next to it with a chainsaw, it still remains circumstantial because we can't put these two together, even though the rest of the world goes, that's quite clearly happened, but that's not how the court of law works, I'm afraid.
Is there any more questions?
Just communicate with me and I can have a look.
Do you actually need photographs, or can we just?
Photographs are always helpful, because when someone sends me a picture of a litter bin in the district, it's difficult for me to
So
identify.
I take a picture of a dangerous tree and then add an email to it.
Yeah, anything that helps me and my team to identify something, because if it is truly dangerous and needs acting upon now, we will get someone out. So that's why when you met my colleagues out here, they were sent out immediately.
Oh yeah, I was chatting to them. Yeah, really. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay then. Right, thank you very much.
Don't run over the leaves.
That is, yeah, I was going to say, unless you want another hour's worth of planning applications, we'll let you go. You must have had a long day at work as
Yes, I was on my way home and I will continue my journey if I
well.
may.
Excellent, of course.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you for coming here tonight. That's been most helpful. Okay, so we'll continue with the agenda. Now we've got item number 5, planning applications. 5.1 is reference number 22-00181, location 1 St George's Lees, Sandwich, CT13 9JS. Proposal for an erection of a single-storey rear extension with material changes to the front elevation, with the existing conservatory to be demolished. Has anybody got any matters to raise on that?
No, approve the recommendation, approve the plan.
Anybody else? Any issues, any concerns? No? Does anybody want to second that motion?
Yeah, I just did.
Oh, sorry. Councillor Fox, so that's passed then. Item number 2, reference number 22-00056, location 63 to 66, King's Arms, Strand Street, Sandwich, CT13 9HN. Proposal is single-storey rear extension to form extended kitchen, store and wash-up. Ground floor internal alterations include new fixed screen to bar wash area, replace door to office, insert folding doors to dining area, and remove partition and form new opening to kitchen. Convert existing store building into drying room, including insertion of extraction unit. And this actually we can take with item number 3, which is reference number 220055, location King's Arms, Strand Street, Sandwich. Proposal is erection of single-storey rear extension with state main entrance door, bin store enclosure, conversion of outbuilding to kitchens, storage, extraction fans, drying area, and repainting of external walls and replacement of external lighting. Existing shed to be demolished. Do we have any items to that? Councillor Fox?
I think it's great that a local business wants to extend in this way. I would like to propose a recommend approval, but with a caveat that the extraction unit does not cause disturbance to other people, and that environmental health are happy to pass it, because extraction units can cause all sorts of things.
Yeah, I second that proposal. I think it's just modernising a very, very ancient building, isn't it, bringing it more up to date.
I also note that the English Heritage didn't have any objections, so.
No, that's correct. And also the extraction fan's only like a very small one, isn't it? 4-inch, 4-inch one. So hopefully.
Oh, that's all right then.
That shouldn't be a problem there. If that's that one, well, that's that item.
Bit of a vote, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, sorry, beg your pardon.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah, that'll help. Yeah. So can we have a vote on that matter? All those in favour? Anybody against? Any abstentions? No, that's passed. Item 4, reference number 22000137, location 80 Strand Street, Sandwich, CT13 9HX. Proposal is to remove ground floor load bearing wall, inserting first floor supporting post, and remove chimney breast from ground floor reception room. Have we got any issues on this application or questions?
Propose acceptance.
Yeah, I second it. Yeah.
Second that. Okay. Vote on that. All those in favour? Okay, that's passed. Item number 5, reference number 22000147, location.
Number 4, Chair.
Oh, sorry, is that number 4?
Oh, sorry, no. Yeah,
Oh,
5, yeah. Location 224 New Street, Sandwich, CT13 9AH, AB rather. Proposal is to display of 2 non-illuminated fascia signs and 1 non-illuminated projecting sign, which is a retrospective application. And I hope you've all noted that this is for the Costa Coffee store just across the Guildhall here. Is there any concerns or matters to be raised? Oh, Colin Wiles, please.
I seem to recall that they put in a retrospective application for conversion of the upstairs, part of the upstairs into residential. And it just concerns me that these large chains seem to be doing what they like and then coming and asking for permission afterwards. I wonder if the committee could, if they're prepared to approve it, put a caveat to say, can they be given a stern letter?
I see. Yeah, I can make a note of that. That could go forward.
I'm quite happy to propose that, Mr. Chair. It would have been my comment as well. I have tried to talk to Birdex a lot of times, and you just do not get anywhere. You speak to a very nice receptionist who is the sweetness of life and will tell you that someone will be in touch with you, and they never are. And you email and email and email, and nothing ever happens. So, yes, I do think they should have a shot across their bow, because they should not be abusing the planning system like that.
Mr Chairman, I think they're two separate items. I think cost of coffee is completely different than a flat above it. So,
No.
yes, I think they are.
Yeah, I think it was
We're
just,
here discussing cost
it
of
was
coffee
just mentioned that there was a previous retrospective
on the flat above.
planning application on the flat above,
But
but
there's nothing to do with cost of coffee.
no. But we're saying about this one, there's a retrospective one.
It wasn't that, it was, because it was their upstairs, it was where they had upstairs coffee.
I know it's upstairs, but I'm saying it's been split now, isn't it? It's the building has now been split into two, isn't it?
I think the application was from Costa.
Yeah.
The previous one.
They're using it as they're going to use it as an Airbnb.
That's right. Yeah.
So the proposal is for it to go ahead, but a letter of objection to be sent to the applicant, is that correct?
If we can ask Dover District Council to do that.
To do that, yeah.
Not objection, but just to say,
Objection,
approve,
yeah.
but in the future, please don't keep making retrospective applications.
Okay, so and that's being proposed by Councillor Fox and seconded by,
I'll second it.
thank you very much, and all those in favour?
Yeah.
That passed. Okay. Item number 6 is reference number 22-00171. Location is Unit 3, the White Mill, Ash Road, Sandwich, Kent, CT13 9JB. The proposal is for a variation of condition number 2. Approved plans to allow alteration to the roller shutter doors of Planning Commission DOV 2100621, which was an application under section 73. Formation of 2 number openings and installation of roller shutter doors to south elevation to create 2 number car bays and extension of front hard standing. And this is of course Robinson Motors. Councillor Fox?
Propose acceptance.
Yeah. I'll second that. Yeah.
Is there any discussion on that matter? No? Could we vote in favour of that proposal? That's items passed. Thank you very much. So on to item number 7, reference number 22-00130. Location the Old Dutch House, 62 King Street, Sandwich, CT13 9BL. And this is a proposal to remove the ground floor, rear porch and rear side lean-to structure and replacement with new to include first floor rear side extension to accommodate new staircase including new partitions, remove single storey rear utility addition and replace with single storey linked kitchen extension, remove and insert new partitions to form first floor en suites and to facilitate the part loft conversion to form a new ensuite to the second floor. Rear southwesterly elevation, replace ground floor window in new position and replace first and second floor windows. Removal of paint finish to the front elevation, and repair of brickwork and redecoration. Okay, so have we got any comments on this application?
I think vast improvement. It's at the rear of the building, so you won't see it from the road. The only thing is you can see further. Take that whole roll paint off, and it's going to be vast improvement.
Indeed, I think that'd be a vast, and I don't know if you all saw, there was actually a one of the neighbours had actually written in on this one and complimented the removal of the paint, which will take it back to its original condition and perhaps reveal some of the history of the property as well, which is quite good. So, is that proposal, Councillor Fox?
I'm happy to propose. I would just say I'm not a conservation expert, so I assume Dover District Council Conservation will look at that thoroughly for what what materials, etc. should be used, but I don't think that's our remit. I'm very happy to propose to see its improvement.
Yeah, I can confirm if any properties that are listed do actually go by the conservation officer at Dover. So have I got anybody to second that proposal? Okay. And can I have a vote on that as well? All those in favour, thank you very much. Okay. And then item number 8 is reference number 22000129, and this is the Old Dutch House. Again, erection of ground floor and first floor extensions, reinstatement of ground floor rear window and replacement windows, existing rear porch lean-to and single storey structure to be removed. Are we voting in a similar manner?
Proposed acceptance.
Thank you. Can I have a vote on that? Thank you very much. And item number 9, reference number 22000124, location Casamaya, Johns Green, Sandwich City 130DE, erection of front porch, replacement windows and doors, 2-storey side and single storey rear extensions, existing side extension and chimney to be demolished. Have we got any questions or queries on this property application?
Yeah, I approve it, Mr. Chair. I think it's a big improvement on the house. It, you know, it make it a lot better.
Does anybody want to second that proposal? Thank you very much, Councillor Fox. And could we vote on that application? All those in favour? Thank you very much.
I've got an exit for this one. Somebody lets me know the thing for the minutes afterwards and call me back in.
I will do, thank you very much. Item number 10 is reference number 22000180. Location is Innovation House, Innovation Way, Discovery Park, Sandwich, CT139FF. And the proposal is erection of a new 2.4 metre high security fence.
Yeah, I approve it. It's within their sort of site, so it won't be visible really, when they actually go into the site.
No.
It's most probably, a lot of these fences, it's to the Home Office, you know, when they've got drugs involved, so it's specified by the Home Office, so it's a standard fencing. As we know, Pfizer had a massive fence all the way around, didn't they, previous, so yeah, I approve it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Happy to second.
Thank you very much for that. And can we vote on that, please? Okay, and that's passed.
Harry, you can come back.
I'll give Councillor Sampson time to make a note of that.
There we go, that's down.
Okay. Well done. And item number 11 is reference number 22000195. Close to home. Location Guildhall, Cattle Market, Sandwich, CT139AH. Proposal is a variation of condition 2. Approved plans of Planning Commission DOV 1800312, which is to allow amendments, application under section 73 for the erection of a bus shelter, replacement paving and street furniture, external lighting and associated landscaping. Any comments or concerns?
I wonder if we might ask Councillor Friend to speak a bit about this as a Dover District Council-led project, and I noted that Stagecoach have sent rejection comments, and I'd like to understand. They claim they haven't been consulted, but I know they can be difficult, so I'd like to hear more about if that's possible, Mr. Chairman.
Sure. Councillor Friend, would you be able to enlighten us on that matter?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I'll be able to give a fuller update next week as the project manager for this project is on annual leave at the moment, which is David Parish. But from the conversations we've had before, everyone has been involved in the consultation. The stagecoach letter was surprising. It went through KCC Highways, it went through the public transport scheduling team, and it was all signed off as acceptable to go through to this phase. So, yeah, we need to find out more next week as to what their specific objections are. But knowing Stagecoach, the person that was consulted probably agreed, and then a different person has been asked for a response. So, I mean, you'll know from your time on JTB that Stagecoach are interesting.
Difficult to work with, yeah, indeed. I'm sure. Is that suitable for you to wait for an
Absolutely
answer?
fine, I'm happy to propose.
Oh, super, thank you very much. And is there a seconder for that?
Mr. Wiles is wanting to
Oh,
shoot
big pardon.
I just wanted to comment on the plan because it does appear from the plan that the 2 stands for double-decker buses are simply not long enough, and there are often 3 buses waiting at that stop. So the consequences for traffic backing up New Street are terrible, really. If it's the case, I mean, you just have to look at the length of the car on this plan. I mean, a standard car is maybe a standard double-decker bus is maybe 3 times longer than a typical car, so it's completely out of scale on this plan.
I thought it a dreadfully difficult plan to look at, I have to say.
I don't know.
Did you want to raise that as a query to plan?
Well, I mean, I accept that Stagecoach are difficult to deal with, but you would have hoped that whoever designed this would have measured a bus.
The KCC detailed designs, the public transport team designed them in conjunction with Stagecoach and the agreement as to what buses they utilise in Sandwich. So I can find out more next week from David Parish and so make that members.
And those buses shouldn't be in Sandwich anyway, apart from everything else.
Councillor Fox?
I remember the one JCB meeting I did go to, which you couldn't go to, Councillor Carter, was a presentation from Stagecoach that were talking about the electrification of, and this was about 3 years ago, the electrification of their buses and what they were planning to do. It's taking some time. And also the debate about Sandwich having the large buses because they use it for the school children and then they've got nowhere else to go, and they are absolutely unsuitable for this area. Also they're dirty, and we do have, unbelievably, in a town near the sea, pollution issues in our little town because of the narrow streets. So this is something I would like to urge Stagecoach to look at, and maybe this is the opportunity to think of something different for Sandwich.
Indeed, yeah, that's a good point there.
I do remember when all the plans for the Guildhall were put forward, one of the selling points was that this would sort out the buses blocking the road. And I mean, I tried to imagine how they would do that, but I just assumed they'd curve in more into the square than they do now, and it's a bit disappointing that it's still an issue, especially as I recall we voted for a lot of money for this scheme, and we were told in no uncertain terms, you either vote for this scheme, you either vote for this plan, or you don't get anything. And we all dutifully put our hands up for it, and now we find a few months later they're coming back to change it.
I can update you and just say that when I was on Dover District Council, we made applications to get the buses changed, and we were told by Stagecoach that they'd invested quite a lot in the double-decker buses until they came to their end of their life, that they wouldn't actually be replacing them.
But they're ancient, they're dying.
Yeah, well that was, how long ago was that? That was 2018, so yeah, so that's quite some time ago. So.
Yeah, okay. I think Stagecoach would have to vary their bus timetable to ensure that there's only 2 coaches at maximum, you know, at any one time, so they don't get thrown. I mean, it's up to them to put their timetables out better, isn't it, really?
Councillor Fox?
Yes, I also take the view that there should be more enforcement action because people seem to think that double lines, etc., don't matter, and they can just wait there. And people popping in for coffee, just blocking the road completely. So I think we should ask for more enforcement action along that street.
It's a single yellow line at the moment, isn't it? And the plans are for double yellow lines,
Yeah.
which enable it to be enforced.
Well, that might help,
Yeah.
make a difference.
But I'm happy to propose this with the caveat that Stagecoach was spoken to and that we can be assured that there is enough space for the buses.
For the buses, yeah. Could that be noted in the minutes, please? Thank you very much. And who was seconding this? For action, could we vote on the proposal, please? That's passed as well, thank you. Okay, item number 12 is reference number 2101801, location the King's Head, 9 Church Street, St Mary's, Sandwich, CT139HH. Proposal is to replace 2 number front elevation ground floor tripartite windows and replace 2 number door and frame to rear elevation, and replacement of 1 number casement window to side elevation there.
Propose acceptance.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Oh yes, John Hennessy, please.
Right, yeah, there's been quite a considerable amount of work going on the inside of this building. It's at the junction of Church Street, St Mary's and School Lane. Used to be one of the ancient pubs of the town. I'm sure that they've, you know, the works that are going on the inside is fine. The windows on the outside are in a very poor state. The sills are rotten and so are the frames. But these tripartite windows are sash windows and they're very attractive. And as long as this is going to be in timber and not some sort of plastic job, then I think it's a definite improvement and it should be passed.
Oh, that's
But
good.
I wasn't able to ascertain from the site because I couldn't get on it. Again, over planning, exactly what the replacement materials are going to be.
We could put in a request to find out.
I think we voted on this at the last planning application, but I think this is like conservation.
Yeah.
So we passed this at the last meeting.
We did, yeah.
And that's when we had all the full details of the windows and everything, didn't we? So this is a conservation concern. So
Did we ascertain what the materials were?
it would be timber.
It was timber, was it?
Yeah.
Okay, then. So we're accept that that's timber, Mr. Hennessy, if that's okay.
Interesting.
Okay then. Could I have a proposer and a seconder?
I did propose already.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm asleep. Before you fall asleep, could we have a vote on it, please? Thank you. All in favour, that's passed as well. Okay, item number 13. Close there. Reference number 22000148, location 138 Dover Road, Sandwich, CT130DD. Proposal is erection of single-storey front and rear extensions and 2-storey side extension. Existing conservatory to be demolished. I would just like to initially say, I don't know if anybody was able to go and see this property. It forms one of several properties that's known in an area called the Crescent at the end of Dover Road. Now all these properties have over the years had roof extensions, but they've all been very small roof extensions, barely like 1 or 2 rooms. This one is a lot larger, so I don't know if anybody was able to go make a site visit and look at this. But this would actually bring this property out of sync with all the other ones, because there's a group of them, they were all built at the same time in the 1950s and they all look the same. this will have a considerable difference to property. Councillor Heaven?
Yeah, I know roughly where it is, and I did note that it mostly involves replacing an existing conservatory. So in fact it's not extending, am I talking about the right one? Yeah, existing conservatory to be demolished. So I assumed that it wouldn't make that much difference. Plus, of course, there are no objections from neighbours.
No, that's true. Now, did you see the roof plan for it all?
I can't
Because the
remember
roof plan
it.
is going to make the property completely different from all the other properties. So it's just obviously I wouldn't object on my understanding, but it will make the property very different from all the others. But there again, it's not in the conservation area.
I was just going to say, if there is no planning reason for objecting to it,
No.
I don't feel that I have the confidence to object to something just because it's going to be different. I think that's something for the professional planners to take up.
Indeed.
And if there be no objections from neighbours,
No.
I can't see a reason to object.
I think we look like 1920s house, don't they? They're similar down the shoulder. But if you look at them, they're all different. All the dormers are different on the sides, aren't they? You know, there's no sort of uniform look to the buildings. So I think I recommend approval.
Is that your proposal?
Yes, I think it goes through it, Dover.
Have we got to second that? That's okay.
I thought I had to take it.
And can we have a vote on that, please? In favour, thank you, that's passed. And item number 14 is reference number 2200229, location 4 Delft Street, Sandwich, CT13 9BZ. Proposal is display of 2 non-illuminated applied lettering signs, and this is the property you may know as Collections currently, but it's going through a change of ownership from mother to daughter. So
Yeah, I recommend approval. I mean, it used to be Manders had a sign there, didn't it? Then it's one nice thing. It's just moving on with the ownership of the building, which is nice. People still willing to have retail units in the town, so it's important.
I'll second that.
super, thank you very much. And all those in favour? That's passed. Okay, item number 15 is reference number 2200228, location 6 St Peter's Street, Sandwich, CT139BW. Proposal is to change of use to a single residential dwelling, use class C3 with the erection of a single storey rear extension and replacement windows and doors. Did we have any concerns? Oh, Colin Marks?
Yeah, I'm against this on principle, any conversion of retail to residential. I'm also not convinced by Finn's statements about marketing this property. I've been looking at commercial properties in Sandwich for some time. I've never seen it on Rightmove. They claim it's automatically linked from their website to Rightmove, and I've never seen it advertised for sale, so I don't think it's been actively marketed at all.
Thank you, Chair. Wearing my Chamber of Commerce hat as opposed to my DDC hat, I agree with Mr Wiles that we should be opposed to all transfer of commercial to residential. It has been advertised on Rightmove, and I know several people that have tried to progress and it goes nowhere, which has been the case for other properties where the owner is wanting to get the residential outcome. They advertise it with no intention of letting it. Needs to be more robust action on it, but I think refusal is the way that we should go for it.
So is that your proposal?
I'm not on this committee.
I was looking at the plans, and it said this planning application was passed in 2019, and because they haven't actually started, the 2 years is running out, and this is just a renewal of the planning application.
2017.
It's 2017, yeah. So it's already been passed, so I suppose this might be the second time that they've come back there and actually started to work.
Well, it's come in front of us now, so we can vote on it now, so
Recommend rejection.
thank you.
Those who refuse it.
Is there anybody to second that? Oh, thank you very much. And all those in favour of that motion? Two in favour, and those against?
As soon as we've already passed it, I'll have to, and I was on the council, so I'm against it. I can't go back on what already passed.
Are you voting against?
I feel obligated, because I was on the committee that passed it, so I feel obligated that I can't sort of suddenly reject it now.
Okay, well, the motion to reject that has actually passed and 2 to 1.
Abstain,
We'd
yeah.
like to change our mind, I think.
Well, I know that, I know.
Very quickly, just for the clarity of the minutes, we're recommending rejection for the reason of unacceptable loss of commercial space in the town.
Yes.
Correct?
That's correct. Thank you. Up to number 16. Location, reference number 22000212, land adjacent to 21 Johns Green Sandwich, CT130DE. The proposal is erection of a detached dwelling, bin store, boundary wall, new vehicular access and parking. Existing front wall is to be demolished. Do we have any concern about this? This was another one that I did put an email out to say about going to look at, because without having a site visit, it's very difficult to determine about this detached dwelling. Councillor?
Yeah, I was only up there Tuesday when I was taking that lady back, and I said to my wife, that's a lovely garden there. Something else, I said, oh, that's a planning application. And I think it's a lovely garden. I think it does complement the scene. You bring the balance really in. It's a shame to lose a lovely garden. I think it'll take a couple of the mature trees are going to stay, so I can't see any reason to refuse it, so I recommend approval.
So you're recommending approval of the
new house.
And were you aware of it, that it got turned down previously?
Yeah.
And that it was also at appeal, it got turned down by the HM Inspectorate.
Oh.
So it's
Anyway,
been turned down twice before. Councillor Heaven?
Well, the new planning application states that they've recognised the objections that led to the rejection of it originally, and that this is a different plan that takes all those objections into account. I mean, it's obviously infill, whether people have got major objections to infill or not. Is it appropriate, and I think I've raised this before, is it appropriate to object to a planning application to build a dwelling house by pointing out that several hundred dwelling houses have been approved for construction around the town anyway? So would that influence our decision about one house by saying in effect, no, don't spoil the garden, because there's another 200 houses very close to there going up. There's the Coomore site only just down there.
I think it's dependent upon the circumstances for each planning application. So in particular, this one, as I say, I noted myself it had been refused before, and it said the reasons for it being refused before was cramped and congested site area. B, it was out of keeping with the developments in that area. And C, it was detrimental to the spatial pattern of the existing developments, because the two gardens that would result, the two properties that would result, both of them would have exceptionally small gardens and parking areas, whereas Johns Green, all the properties there have very large gardens and parking areas. So
I'm just acting as a straw man. There's been no neighbour's objection to it.
There was none recognised on there, so no. So I'll leave it for you to decide on this one. I will just point out that we had one in, I think it was January or February's planning meeting in the same road, which was an infill, and we actually proposed rejection.
Well, that was at the rear though, wasn't it?
It was at the rear,
so
it was at the rear.
horrible. Yeah.
So I'll leave you to make a decision.
That's what you really think, Jeff.
And it was, well, this is actually got road frontage, isn't it? No neighbours have objected to it. It was a really nice plan to me. There's only a couple of small trees being removed. It's different if the neighbours had all complained, but we haven't had any complaints from the neighbours.
No. So does somebody want to make a proposal?
Assumes they see the planning notice.
There wasn't one up there when I went up there. Councillor Friend.
Actually, Chairman, on looking closer at the details, I recognise the name of the client, so I will withdraw for the rest of the discussion.
Right, okay, thank you very much. Thank you for. So let me note in the minutes that Councillor Friend's left the chamber, please. So those remaining, could I have a proposal on this application as to whether we're going to recommend it or object to it?
Accept.
Yeah.
So you're recommending approval?
Yeah.
And have you got somebody to?
Yeah, well, because no neighbours have objected, so I can't say that. This is a nice plan for me.
And can I have a vote on that, please? For the 3-4, so that passes. Thank you very much.
I'm abstaining.
I'll beg your pardon.
You didn't know, Mr. Chairman.
Could somebody call in Councillor Friend, please?
Dan?
Visions of Alan Partridge then.
Before you thank you for that. Before you all fall asleep, item number 16, reference number 2200294, which is location garages opposite 19 Bowling Street, Sandwich, no postcode. Proposal is overall crown reduction by up to 3 metres of 2 beach T1 and T2, and raise lower canopy of T2 to provide 2 metres clearance over an adjoining garage, both subject to tree preservation order number 1967/6. Do we have any comments? Councillor Heaven.
Our voluntary tree warden doesn't have any objections to the tree works. I do note that a neighbour had actually asked for some extra works to make sure that the branches don't cut across his garage roof. And it seemed to me that if the tree warden has no objection to tree works, then perhaps we should approve, but recommend that the proposal, I can't remember the name of the neighbour, that his extra proviso be agreed with as well.
Right.
It was to do with raising the canopy on one and not the other, and the neighbour was saying, well, can't you raise the canopy of the one that might be over his garage?
I think I note what you're saying there, but I think we'd have to get some advice on that from Dover District Council, because we can only vote on what's actually been put forward by the owner of the property. So we can't actually sort of take into account other people's requirements or recommendations. So we're just voting on what's actually been put through. So, Councillor Fox.
Oh, I'm happy to accept this application, so as Councillor Heaven has proposed it, I will second it.
Colin Wiles.
Yeah, could be the same neighbour has been in touch with me to say he accepts the need for the work, but just is concerned that it could be carried out by a qualified tree surgeon, which I'm assuming it will be in any case.
Fox and Franklin. Are you seconding this one, are you?
Councillor?
Oh, Councillor
That was
Heaven.
I proposed.
No.
I seconded it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Fox. That's okay. And all those in favour?
Yeah.
and that's passed as well. Thank you very much. And then we move on swiftly. Item number 6, enforcement. Consider any enforcement notices and issues received from Dover District Council. I have just one matter which Councillor Friends will hate me for, but I was just going to ask if there was an update on the porta cabins at all. Would you be able to give the committee an update?
Yes.
Sorry to
Let me just find the
That's not a
specific
problem.
wording. The investigating officer has attended the site and established the porta cabins have been stacked is development that has been carried out without the benefit of the planning commission. Having consulted with the heritage team, the landowner has been advised to site both porta cabins to ground level and to apply for planning permission to retain them. If this is not done by the 4th of April, then the investigating officer will consider the next appropriate steps to resolve the breach of planning control. A further update will be provided after the 4th.
brilliant. Well, that's excellent news. Thank you very much for that. That's been really worth waiting for. Thank you very much for that. Did anybody else have any other enforcement matters to raise? Okay, and item number 7 is decisions. To note that Dover District Council planning decisions will be emailed to the committee as and when they're received. And item number 8. One came through earlier from Caroline, didn't it? So, and then item number 8 is date and time of the next meeting is Wednesday the 13th of April 2022 at 6:30 p.m. Normal conditions and personnel will resume. Thank you for your attendance.
Yeah, hopefully.
Thank you for following up on that, Councillor Frank.
Oh, yeah.
That's really, did you guess I was going to ask about that?
Oh no, it just irritated me as much as it does everyone else.
That's it, yeah.
I walk past it most days.
You're going home, hurry. Yeah, so we're going for that.